Imperial Manila is a term used by the Philippine society, especially the non-Manileños, to express the idea that all affairs of the Philippines, whether in political, economy, and business or culture, depends on what goes on in the capital region, the Metro Manila, without knowing the needs of the rest of the country.
So, Imperial Manila versus Mindanao. Ang sabi ko lang about the topic ay kinaisip talaga ng mga taga Manila na superior sila sa atin kasi yun ang ginaisip kasi nila na parang sila ang capital. So, sila lang yung parang advanced or kanang sila lang tong mga na yung mga buildings anak good tapos ito and dahil po anak kay ginaisip na bukid lang ta na bisag tingala po isa natin kuryente dito then oto and dahil po anak kay nag slowly separate ang kanang mga Pinoy then mawala to.
Imperial Manila is basically Manila feeling like it's some all-powerful capital kingdom, and it doesn't like that the southern provincial Mindanaoans are rising up to more power and have the nerve to speak against them, fight against them, because they think they're superior and better.
Basically, the issue between Imperial Manila versus the Mindanao started way before pa talaga. So this started because of the cultural differences and Manila being the capital of the Philippines. So what you mean by cultural differences is that they speak the different dialects such as the Filipino, which is our main language. Kasi especially na if makarinig sila ng mga Bisaya or other languages, they tag it as the provincianos language, mga ignorante na language. This is vividly seen in social medias and mga online games. And another thing is that Manila being capital kasi gilift up niya ang self-esteem ng mga Manileños in a bad way because they see themselves as someone superior because the development they have. So, and lastly pala kasi Imperial Manila and the versus Mindanao is something opinions lang talaga siya ng people kasi there are Manileños see that Mindanao not different from them. So basically this issue is a matter of perception on how you see people who came from different cultural backgrounds or places. That's all.
When I hear about Mindanao versus Imperial Manila, yun yung tingin ng Mindanao sa taga Manila is mas superior sila dahil sila ang capital ng Philippines. Then when it comes sa mga buildings and etc. mas angat ng Manila dahil mas maraming mga buildings and mga mataas na business sa
I think that Imperial Manila versus Mindanao is all about ethnocentrism, which is seeing one's culture superior to others. So as an avid user of social media, I could see or I could experience that most of the Manileños are belittling or nag-look down sila sa people from Mindanao. Take for example the LET-EXA. Most of the top-notchers are coming from the schools of Mindanao. Thus, they said that the exam was biased because the president is from Mindanao. So that's it. So we could say that from that example, it is an ethnocentrism.
What I think if marinig ko ang Imperial Manila versus Mindanao is yung ideology ng tao na superior ang taga Manila sa mga taga Mindanao. And this ideology, I think, divides us as a nation and maybe sa sa cultural differences and practices natin and beliefs. Ma-divide tayo. Tapos never ending naman to na issue kasi ever since meron na talaga to siya. So
Have you been hearing of conflicts between Manila and Mindanao?
Recently, I've been hearing lots of conflicts, especially like sa Twitter. Like you hear a lot of people complaining that Manila, parang ang Manila daw, parang they think highly of themselves, and then parang compared to us, even though we are all Filipinos, parang there's a division between us because just because they live up there sa north and we live like down here sa south, their perception of us is parang super nasa war ating ang Mindanao. So that's why I think they believe that parang they are above us.
In social media, I haven't experienced it personally, pero always ko siya marinig in social media, especially Twitter, where people in Manila often think of Davaoenos as inferior to them, and Davaoenos reacting to it in a bad way kasi nga parang nada-downgrade tayo when in reality that's not the case, and we shouldn't be portrayed as that.
Yes, I have heard of conflicts between Manila and Mindanao, most of which I've only heard of online.
Yes, having lived in both Manila and Davao, I've heard both sides. I've heard how, well, sa Davao mostly, people seem to think na people in Manila mayayabang. Yung mga nasa Manila naman, most of them feel like uncultured, yung mga hindi taga Manila.
Yes, I have. Especially sa social media, yun nga, na parang, especially sa Twitter, na parang, yun na, iba ang tingin ng taga Luzon sa atin na parang, ina-downgrade nila tayo in a way na parang, hindi equal ang pagtingin na sa atin. They look at us on a lower perspective.
In terms of social media na conflict, issue na conflict, so far wala akong marinig, pero in terms of the idea that mayroon bang problem among people sa mga Manila and people sa Mindanao, mayroon bang issue na nagkakasagutan ba sila or yun, I am aware of and narinig ko din yun na. And na-witness ko din sometimes sa social media or even sa mga relatives, like people na ma-meet ko minsan is meron, I have heard of yung may conflict nga of people in Manila and Manila.
Yes, for the past few years kasi I've tried to be a member of the Philippine literary community, and there is an obvious fight between writers in Manila and writers here in Mindanao. Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of, yes. There's few.
Yes, I've heard of conflicts from Manila and Mindanao. What I've heard was like parang common na paningin ng mga taga Manila sa Mindanao kay ng sipagira ng wala pa nag-asenso, tas ang pananaw pod sa uban sa mga taga Mindanao sa Manila kay kanang mga bugero hilas na nag-lockdown sa mga taga Mindanao. Pero some lang isa sa duwa sa from Manila o sa from Mindanao dili tanan.
What is happening to the Philippines in regards to this Imperial Manila versus Mindanao issue?
I believe with this issue, it further divides us as Filipinos kasi yun na nga, di ba, we are living in an archipelago, and sa archipelago, it is hard to travel from one island to another, so from one city to another. So communication is different, the language is different, and that factor, it's already a barrier for us na parang we can't communicate with our fellow citizens. That is why with this issue pa talaga, it further divides us and it further takes us away from each other, and it's further like parang ginapag-away pa tayo each other kasi yun na nga, they believe that there is an Imperial Manila and we are looked down upon.
I just think it makes us more divided, and obviously that's a bad thing.
For me kay, ang mapansin ko is parang nag-separate na good siya. Like, yun nga, yung kung sabihin mo kasi sa Manila, capital siya. Then yung sa Mindanao, parang nasa-separate na siya. Yung ganun, sabi ko kanina, a state within a state.
Yun, we get more divided kay diba sa, di man uso sa atin yung, especially may makita mo sa US na parang racial discrimination, cultural discrimination, di man yung uso sa atin. So yun, the fact na merong ganun, may Imperial Manila, parang yun mo ating downside na may ganun tayo. And
I think ang whole Philippines is nasa process pa siya sa pag-address ng problem. So I don't think as tingin ko is hindi pa completely na-solve ang problem. Parang I think we're still in the middle of it, and since dyan kay parang mas nagtataas ang urge, for example for Mindanaoans, na mas mag-prove ang self nila, and more din sa mga taga Manila na mas dumalaki din yung since merong conflict, mas lumalaki ang problem, mas nagkakaroon ng more debates in social media and social platforms. For me mas lumalaki yung problem, and I think yung Philippines nakakadagdag siya sa more problems na gina-face ng country.
Sa political na lang na landscape, I think it heightens the division, no, between Manila and then Mindanao, especially right now again na si Duterte yung president natin. So ang tendency is mas nag-worsen yung political divide sa country natin, which is sad, you know. And it actually shows din sa literary community kasi some of the writers din kasi, for example sa Mindanao, no, writers from Manila, they tend to kumbaga generalize ba, kung taga Mindanao ka, pro Duterte ka, so you're bad or you suck, ganun. So yun. And personally din kasi, no, I don't want to be generalized din. So that's why nga sometimes, no, when I meet writers from Manila and then we talk about politics, they nasashock sila na, bakit hindi ka, for example, hindi ka solid DDS, no? Nasashock din sila. So I think that's one thing we have to show them, na di porkat taga Mindanao kami, we 100% support blindly the president. No, we are also critical din, okay? And it's nice, I think, not to live in a country na hindi tayo defined ng regionalism, ng geography natin, no? Because in the end, we all have our opinions.
For me, this issue has hampered our unity in a sense. Like, for example, we can't fully, I believe na to an extent, Mindanaoans can fully trust Manileños, and same and vice versa.
Nagkakasya ng conflict, parang nagkaroon ng division na dapat sana wala. At the end of the day, isang country lang tayo, so dapat merong communication. Pero in terms of conflict na to, ito nagkakos ng division.
For me, now people are more open and people are more diverse. That the people from Mindanao are more accepting, they're more open to opportunities, and Imperial in Manila has opened their arms, they've extended their help to Mindanao. And I believe that the future holds a brighter and future without this rivalry, without this conflict anymore.
We can differentiate truth and opinion within the light of this tension by truly knowing what and where the truth is.
Various insights from the various people interviewed should be considered opinions because these were self-experienced.
There is no foundation on these feelings aside from their or their peers' experiences. Thus, these feelings are opinions.
This issue further divides our country because no matter what the topic is, if it involves both Mindanao and Manila, the fair conflict is always burning.
On the other hand, truths are those statements or ideas that is observed or verified through an actual experience or evidence, and it matches the reality.
There is truth in saying that the conflict, Imperial Manila versus Mindanao, itself is existent.
Therefore, from the insights and opinions of the members of the group, interviewees, and the researchers, finding the commonalities among these, we find the truth.
And the one truth we have come across is this: there is an Imperial Manila versus Mindanao.
Don't let distance and opinion divide a nation. Strive towards unity.